Hello everyone, this is going to be for the lesson that is going to be due Friday the 10th of October. So to start out, you have already gathered the information from the ramps in the back of the room. You've gathered the information from ramp A and ramp B. You should have a calculator with you. Don't do this longhand, use a calculator to make the addition, the subtraction, and the finding of the mean as quick and easy as possible. The first thing I want to start out by saying is, even though we didn't write it down, you need to remember that there was a 0 second. That's when we started. And we're going to need that for finding out the speed and the acceleration. At that 0 second, of course, the distance it went was 0. And that was the same every time. It always started at the 0 mark. The rest of the information up here is not going to be accurate. It is just an example that I'm going to use so that you know how to figure out the mean, the speed, the acceleration. The first thing I want to say about the mean, which I'll do right in the middle of the board here, and I'll just give one example. We've all done this already before a few times, so you should know this, is that to figure out a mean, you take the number of instances, you add all of those instances together, and the sum you divide by the number of instances again. We only had 3 trial runs for each second. So that means that whatever 3 distances we gathered at each second mark, we will add all those together. For example, let's say we had 25, a 33, and a 38. We add each one of those together, 25, 33, 38. We divide that sum by the number of instances, which is 3, and that will give us our mean. In this case, it would have been 32. Now the mean distances I'm going to put up here, again, are just examples. They're not for you to use on what you need to turn into me. They're just examples of how to do this properly. Now also remember that you need to do one of these for each the A and the B ramp. You can't do it just for the A ramp, you have to do it for both. So to start out, I'm, again, just going to write some random ones up here. I'm not going to go all the way down to 6 and 7 as on the ramps back here. You'll get an idea after I do 4 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, I'm just going to make up some numbers. Let's say at 1 second, it had gone 16 centimeters, remember. At 2 seconds, it had gone 56. At 3 seconds, let's say it had gone 120. And then at 4 seconds, let's say that it had gone 150. Again, these are our mean distances after we figure out the average distance that it went. Next, we need to figure out our speed. The speed is simply taking the ending speed, or the final speed, and subtracting from it the original speed, or the starting speed. So, for 0 seconds, it's very easy. The speed is 0, and the acceleration, I'll just put in, but we'll talk about in a second, of course, is 0. Next we get to the first second. At the end of the first second, it was at 16 centimeters in my example here. We subtract the original from the ending, that will give us our speed. So we subtract 0 from 16, and that gives us our speed. Pretty easy, right? 16. We do that for all the other instances here. So we take our final distance, we subtract it from our original distance. So 56, we subtract our original 16, that will give us 40. That is our speed. One thing to point out here is that speed is always in 2 units. It's always in the amount of time that it took to travel a certain distance. And of course, the distance and the time that we used was centimeters per second. So you can just label that up here, cm per second. Let's go down to the next one. 120 was our final, or our ending speed. Our original speed was 56. 120, subtract 56, and that gives us our answer as, we're going to subtract 120 from 56, our starting, or our original speed, distance, and that will give us our speed. 64. Last one, same thing. Final speed, original speed. Our ending speed, our starting speed. 150, subtract 120, 30. Acceleration is very similar. In fact, it's exactly the same process. We're just using our speeds now instead of our distances. What we will do is we will subtract our ending or our final, like it says in the book. All this again is found in the book, from our original or our starting. So 0, we've already figured that out. Next we come to our first second. At our first second, we subtract 0 from 16, and we get 16. Acceleration, the units are a little bit different though. Acceleration, the units are centimeters per second, meaning that every second it increases by a certain amount of speed or decreases by a certain amount of speed. So let's go to our next one. Our next one would be, we're going to take 40 and subtract from it 16. 40, subtract 16. Might as well use your calculator to make sure you get it correct. Make the process quicker so you don't have to do it longhand. 24. Same thing here. Again, you have your original speed and you have your final speed. So our original speed was 40. From that, we are going to subtract 40 from our final speed. 64 is going to give us 24. Next, same thing. Take our final speed, subtract it from our original speed. So negative 64, subtract 30. Larger number in the spot down there, so we subtract 30 minus 64. Ooh, negative number. Make sure you put that negative mark in there, that's important. 34. A negative acceleration is deceleration. So at this point, it's slowing down by this much. It's still moving. It's just moving slower. It's slowed down from its last speed. And that is the process. Quick and simple. Make sure to do this for your A run and your B run. Make sure that for your A run, you've done all 6 seconds, but remember on the B run, we had 7 seconds to do. And this is all you need. Do not make a graph yet. Stop at this point. And then on Friday, that's when we're going to use this information to finish going through the scientific method and figuring out which of our stated hypotheses are correct or incorrect.